What's the last thing someone said to you before they died? Be a good chap. My grandfather. Oh, it's fine. Just a bump to the head. I'll take a painkiller and have a nap. Love you. My mom died of a brain hemorrhage 5 hours later. My grandma told me she loved me and how I saved her life by buying her that cordless phone. 90s. Because she was just laying on the bathroom floor. But she carried it with her like I told her and was able to call for help. She had crocheted a bag for it. She was in the end stages of cancer and I was driving up 4 hours every weekend to stay with her. I'd bought the phone a few weekends before and told her to take it with her. She'd never had a cordless phone, so it was a big deal for her. She religiously kept it charged and on her when she got up. She told me she'd see me that weekend. She died that night. My dad said, "I'm gonna pass out. I'm passing out," then died in my arms. See you tomorrow. My father on the phone. I found him dead in his house the next day. Fell. Cracked his head open. I'm fine. Don't worry about me. My grandfather had been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer and refused all treatment. In his words, I'm 86 years old. What the hell is the point? The last time I saw him he looked bad and was clearly in a lot of pain. But he kept insisting that he didn't want anyone making a big fuss over him. He died 3 days later. If you were offered $20 million to not say a word for an entire year, would you do it? What's the first thing you would say after? Does say include non-verbal speech? 'Cause otherwise this'd be pretty easy. I'd say, show me the money. Quote. $20 million as rest of my life as a vacation kind of money. People have sworn an oath of silence for far less. Absolutely I would do it. What would I say after? Probably my bank account number to the organizer of this. Yes, and my first words would be, pay me bitches. True story. A friend went an entire year without speaking to one of his roommates. Just because the other roommate said he couldn't. After 1 year, the original friend said, "Sup. Easiest money ever. Yes. I'm rich biatch." What was your parents' biggest mistake in raising you? The way they used to communicate through me because they wouldn't speak to each other after they separated. When I had to deliver a message from one parent that the other one didn't like, I was the one who was yelled at. And both of them asked me to side with them instead of the other. There was no way to win. Because I always either made mummy sad or daddy sad. Good times. My dad used fear as his main parenting strategy. Did not turn out well because none of us have a good relationship with him anymore. Due to them giving me insane social anxiety. I now have the social skills of the new kid in elementary school. I can't hold a conversation for more than 5 minutes without making people uncomfortable. I have proceeded to lose all of my friends due to this and am now sad and lonely. Violently screaming at me for bad grades or poor performance in sports. I think it had the opposite effect where I became afraid of making any mistakes. Which would lead to more mistakes. Feel like if your kid is underperforming in any way, there's a way to talk to them without making them feel stupid for fucking up. There are better ways to motivate them. They let their fear of dealing with their own trauma turn into causing and ignoring mine. Way too sheltered. I will definitely shelter my kids to an extent and raise them right, but my parents took it to the extreme. I was only allowed to play with religious children and wasn't allowed to watch movies besides. Basically Disney movies until I was in high school. This led to a pretty rebellious phase when I was around 15 that I think could have been avoided if my parents weren't so strict. What doesn't need the hate it gets? Chemist here. The word, chemicals. MSG. It's like salt but on crack and exploding with flavor. Wyatt Russell. Hyenas. Most unfairly villainized and maligned animal in the world, all because of some stupid Disney movie. They are not scavengers at all. They hunt 90% of their prey, and lions steal food off of them far more than they steal off lions. They are highly intelligent predators with an equally important role to play in the ecosystem. Guy Fieri. Nuclear power plants. People freak out because of the radiation, but almost everyone is oblivious to the amount of crap a coal or oil power plant dumps in the atmosphere. Nuclear waste is relatively easy to store, and modern nuclear power plants have good safety records. People of Reddit. What fictional character do you hate with a passion? Kevin McAllister's uncle. Look what you did, you little jerk. Percy from the Green Mile. That fuck can die in the mental ward. Joffrey Baratheon. Lannister. What a prick. Ginger from Casino. Major kudos to Sharon Stone. Her performance made me utterly loathe that character. Probably Lil Gideon from Gravity Falls. Manny from Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I think there's a wild subreddit about that little fucker. You wake up and it's June 1, 2019 again. What is the first thing you do? Tell everyone that I'm a time traveler and make a gimmick out of it. Stonks. I'd predict the next Smash characters. They'd all think I'm a genius. Buy toilet paper. I message my girlfriend and say, start looking for houses. I'm moving to the UK so you can finish your education. Visit my mom like every fucking day, 'cause she dies in 3 months. What is something that is widely known, but known incorrectly? Egyptians didn't worship cats. They had a god who was part cat. But to say that they worship all cats would be like saying Christians worship all Middle Eastern carpenters. A few decades back, some archaeologists discovered a field of thousands of buried jars containing mummified cats. Almost all of these cats were about 1 year old and died violently. Severed vertebrae. Cracked skulls. The works. These dead cats were an offering to Bastet. And a lucrative business. They weren't gods on earth like the API's bull. Edit. One of the other comments made a very good point about sources. So here's a history.com. https www.google.com/amp/s/www.history.com/amp/news/ancient-egypt-cat-mummy-discovery-scarab. Article that mentions industrial cat strangulation. I appreciate the likeness to the church's indulgences in later centuries. That you swallow 8 spiders in your sleep each year. It was a fact created in a comic in 1993 that poked fun at people for believing ridiculous facts, and was then subsequently passed on by word of mouth and became accepted. The plans are worthless. Quote by Eisenhower. People who are terrible at management and planning love to quote this to justify their incompetence. They of course always leave out the but planning is indispensable part of it. Alcohol before bed will help you sleep. It only helps you fall asleep faster. But since it inhibits REM, you won't necessarily get good sleep. I was told in school that old civilizations believed the world was flat. It's a notion that's only maybe 100 years old. Originally used as a slur to mock people you thought were primitive. The ancient Greeks knew the Earth was round and had a pretty close estimate to its radius. A lot of trivia-loving people know that in pre-modern times, people would drink beer instead of water. The implication being that medieval people were just shit-faced 24/7. Insert quip about people switching to tea and coffee just in time for the Enlightenment. However, what's often left overlooked is that the beer they were drinking was an extremely weak table beer. of 1% APV or less. Writers of Reddit. What is the most suspicious thing you Googled? How long it would take to deliberately addict a preteen girl to laudanum. For a Western novel I ended up not writing. What is the max amount of blood loss while still being alive and cohesive coherent? Gave my FBI agent some juice that day. How many murders make someone a serial killer? How to cook meth. How long it would take to bleed out after certain appendages have been cut off. How strong would a bomb need to be to level several city blocks? Quote. And the worst part is I didn't even get a straight answer.
Subscribe, my brothers.